Like to call out to order the Public Safety Committee meeting for August 19th, 5:30 PM, council chamber rooms. I'm looking for approval of the minutes from July 15th, 2024.
Move to approve.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. This portion of the meeting is open to the public if anybody wishes to speak for 2 minutes. Seeing none. We'll move on to department updates. Fire.
Thank you, sir. Well, you have our report, so not going to bring up all the fun stuff in that, but just to add a couple of things. I'd like to discuss call volume for a few minutes. Earlier today, which is August 19th, we hit incident 515 for the year. 2023, we had incident number 515 on September 19th. 2022, we had 515 on October 20th. So we're reaching these plateaus a lot sooner. The call volume is increasing. The graph inside the packet, excuse me, shows that it's just not one category, but it's across the board. We do have enough manpower to handle these calls and have only relied on mutual aid twice this year. Once for Forest Park structure fire, and the second time was last Friday afternoon while the department was tied up on the highway, and we had another report of a motor vehicle accident with injuries on Hayes and Westerly. So we ended up bringing in some help to that. So I just wanted to bring that forward, and just a couple other things real quick. From a recruitment and retention standpoint, we had a change in our committee leadership. Firefighter Jerry Reyes is our committee chair and brings a great deal of energy to the committee. We're looking at a bunch of different ways to get our message out to the public, actually looking at having a presence at all high school home football games. And lastly, in cooperation with the Human Resources Department, the town will be launching an all-inclusive volunteer website where anybody who wishes to apply for any one of the town volunteer positions, whether it's EMS, fire, PD cadet, library volunteer, you name it, then the list goes on. I haven't memorized it. So they can apply online there for consideration. And pooling our resources also pools our media resources. And now we can get that out to more people on a more consistent note. So that should be coming up about 6 weeks? Maybe, okay. Within the next few months. All righty?
Thank you.
In the fall.
In the fall. I like that, in the fall. Okay.
Councilor
That's all I have.
O'Sullivan?
Yeah, so Chief, so just trying to drill down a little bit about this creeping increase in volume. We're a growing town, but not that fast that we should be seeing such a dramatic increase across the board. And I just wonder if you have any theories as to what could be driving this. And just one that comes to mind is, could there be some differences happening at the dispatch level, for example? Are calls, have you had any change in personnel or in procedures or anything like that that may have changed the way calls are taken in and routed that may have some impact on this?
That's a great question. That really is. However, we haven't changed our dispatch policy and procedures. The calls are still getting the same amount of apparatus, so it's all asset dispatch. I wish I knew, but talking to the surrounding towns, we're all in the same ballpark. Everybody's going up. And I wish I knew why. More false alarms, good intent calls. I brought the summary just from July. Motor vehicle accidents with injuries. Any type of rescue or EMS incident, that's almost 20% of our calls. False alarms, and false alarms is a very broad category, is 39% of our calls. But that can be anything from a malicious pull station to the way we code food on the stove calls. If there's no extension, then it's just an unwanted activation of a smoke detector, so that falls under that category. So, Bill, the answer is I don't know. I wish I had something better for you.
So could I ask that between now and next month's report, maybe speak with people in dispatch and just kind of brainstorm a little bit? I guess I'm kind of grasping at straws here, to come up with a theory here, but that's just one that comes to mind. And whether there's a change of procedures or not, it'd just be interesting to get some input from people at that front end taking in the calls to see if they have any observations that might be useful for us.
I would be happy to work with Lieutenant Smith on that one.
Absolutely.
Collaboratively.
Does that mean you're happy to delegate it to Lieutenant Smith?
Not at all, not at all.
Okay, thanks, Chief.
All right, thank you.
Chief, I know that you had one injury this month. Is that firefighter okay? It was a minor?
That was a minor injury. I think it was a strain,
Okay, good.
but yeah, they're back.
Excellent.
We've only got one person off the line. It's a long-term
Yep.
shoulder injury.
Yep, that's okay. Thanks. Should they, obviously, you guys are keeping an eye on him if he needs anything.
Absolutely.
Sure you'll take care of him. If you could in the future, the I-91 calls, the money you generate, could you put a total in there, what we have overall? I know you made 15,000 last year, or last month. Could you put a total, what we have in that budget
Yeah,
account?
I'll work with Mona and we'll.
Yeah, just so we know what we
Yeah, they're
have.
a little slow paying, so, but absolutely.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
And another question, how do you deploy your manpower? Well, say you get a call for an accident or an alarm. Who goes out for that?
Accidents receive the same allocation all the time. 2 rescue pumpers and a rescue truck. If we need more, we bring it in.
2 houses then?
I'm
Is
sorry,
that how it works? 2 houses are going out?
3. All 3.
All 3 houses go out
3
for an
houses are
accident?
going out.
Okay,
As for alarms, depending on what it is, where it is, smoke indoors, smoke outdoors would just get 2 companies. Alarms, especially occupied multifamily, will get all 3 companies, 2 engines and a ladder truck for that. Anybody who's not on the apparatus prepares for the second alarm. And if we need it, we start bringing them in. If not, we do a little cleanup in the firehouse real quick. So it's all asset dispatch by section of town and by type of alarm. Also, because we have less personnel around daytime than evening, we have a daytime standard alarm versus a more flexible 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. alarm sheet. And I can provide all that information for you and go over it anytime you'd like.
sure. I'm just curious about, you just talked about I-91, you had a crash. So your whole
I-91
department was out there?
Yeah, I-91 gets everybody just because of the blocking aspect. We want to make sure we protect ourselves up there. If we can release, we will release.
Yeah,
In the case of the simultaneous calls last week, we were able to release 1 rescue pumper and keep a rescue truck and a rescue pumper up there. We were able to close down 3 lanes. We left 1 lane of traffic, which really slowed everybody behind us down. And that second rescue pumper was able to go and up to Hayes and Westerly and take care of that along with Cromwell and Weathersfield.
that was just my concern. I mean, we're using all our resources to 91, our town is open with no fire personnel. I'm just curious, I'm concerned about that.
It's not necessarily no fire personnel.
Okay.
We fill the apparatus up, obviously, get it out to the scene, and the remainder of the people who go to the calls will stay in the house, man the other trucks if needed. So we can have 3
Perfect.
more, a second alarm assignment on the road very quickly.
Perfect.
And
Thank you.
in the case of the other day, it was daytime, so we didn't have a lot left behind.
Yeah, I did see that call up on Hayes, yeah. Perfect. Thank you. Madam
welcome.
Mayor, any questions? Anybody else? Town manager? Oh, he's gone. Okay, thank you very much, Chief.
You're welcome.
You're up again, emergency management.
All right. Let me get my notes back up here. I understand Deputy Chief Gentili gave a fairly comprehensive report last month about the statewide drill and its relationship to CALEA, which was great. So from the emergency management side, this month, all our activity in July was around weather-related issues. We had a couple of heat spells in there. We prepped for cooling centers. And the other events, I want to say we had 3 of them, was predicted heavy rain events. And I got to put hats off to the Highway and the Parks Department for assisting and planning and prep on that. So each time we were expecting a heavy rain event, they were going around and they were checking all the catch basins in town, making sure everything was clear, no buildup from the past storms, and the streets were ready for whatever we got dropped on us. So from an emergency management standpoint, that's where we were last month.
Thank you. Councilor O'Sullivan?
So, Chief, we saw some pretty chilling scenes elsewhere in Connecticut just the last couple of days with the flash flood events that we saw. And, just by happenstance that it was other parts of the state and not here. And I was wondering, do you have, what I'm picturing is, what I saw from some of these scenes, you have low-lying areas, potentially you have dips in the road that can be accumulators of water that can flood, and people, driving towards them may not realize that it's, for example, it's deeper than it looks, that sort of a thing. Do we have those types of areas identified that could potentially be flagged and closed off in the event of a severe weather event? Low-lying areas or areas like that where the sight lines may be misleading that could be problematic for motorists on the road?
We absolutely do. And what you saw yesterday in the Oxford, and I think it went as far as to Watertown and down the Naugatuck Valley, was what we experienced last July 3rd, except on a greater degree. I think we had a total of 4 to 6 inches of rain, and they had upwards of over 12. We do have those marked out. We all know the hot spots. Meadow Road, Main Street by Garden, Out of France is one. Out of France, Highway Department's got 2-sided signs. Flip them on heavy rains, and then put them back when the roads are open. So we absolutely do, and those are our first areas to check.
Good to know. Thank you, Chief.
Any questions? No, Madam Mayor? No. Okay, thank you, Chief. We'll go to ambulance. The volunteers first, please.
Oops, sorry. We had sorry, I have to remember to talk into this thing. We had 95 calls in July, bringing our total up to 820. Our hot and cold responses, hot response, 8 minutes, 49 seconds, cold response, 9:29, which is all within the normal amounts of what it should be, full within expectation. Our 5 types of calls that we are always the same, thank God. We have our top 5 calls: falls, breathing problems, chest pain, abdominal pain, sick person, altered mental status, which could fall. Altered mental status could mean 100 things, but anybody from not feeling well to being just not themselves. So we treat all of that. We had no cardiac arrests in July on the volunteer side. We had one opioid encounter on the volunteer side. We had staffing. We had 4 new members, new members with 3 pending applications, and some of my current staff are going through crew chief training. That's what the CC means. So they're being moved up to help get trucks back online. My new administration, as you know, was me becoming chief, Kim Ritchie is staying as deputy, Michael Turcott is the deputy chief of finance. Secretary of administration is Juan Rodriguez. We all know him as our favorite Medic 5 in town. And training, Zach filled in until I was able to get everything cleared and made ready for J-Rod to come in and do, that's just how we call him, to come in for the secretary position. Zach wanted to do training, and I want Zach to do training. Zach is going to go in, slide in, and start our training program, which is ultimately what I wanted him to do. And that's a whole nother dynamic, which is requires this whole page of paper. Zach and will now start heading up. That'll go in our August report.
Okay.
Stay tuned. Okay, that's the stay tuned. Our dispositions have been transporting ALS and BLS, and the refusals, I was concerned about them in July. They were much better, from the June numbers into July, my report, I was a little more concerned. They were much better in July. We had a lot less refusals, a lot more transports. It seemed like that made a lot more sense to what was my understanding of how it was supposed to be done. And this is the same stuff over and over. Okay, just different variants of graphs. The training, our vehicle status is very consistent. We have the same vehicles that we always have. Nothing has changed in that. Our in-house training, this is where this is going to be the good part. We were able to get one training meeting done where we were able to start learning how to write really good narratives, which is important. That's the bread and butter of getting billing done, but it's also our, for lack of a better way to put it, it's our legal documentation, and it's our patient care report. How everything happened on the call is done and documented on a patient care report, and how to do that and do it properly and well is important. And I was reading a few of them when I started, and I said, this is a certain place for improvement, myself included, because you can never do them perfectly. So I wanted to start there. So our membership totals 47. We have 2 new members, 4 associate members, 3 on a leave of absence, 1 has on military leave. So it's 4 gone, but 1 on military leave. 1 resignation. We are working with recruiting. Myself and the fire chief have had many conversations over the last few weeks on how to make things work, along with some of the police officers in town. Get classes going again and get things rolling the way they need to be going in a forward trajectory for the town, for everyone. EMTs, EMRs, we all need them. That's the ultimate goal. And to retain everybody's certifications, keep them up to speed, and keep everybody learning, and new members coming in, and older members motivated. Not always easy. So that's why Zach is going to have a team. My ongoing relationship with Aetna has I think the team has been working well. I think I've made it clear, I've always had a good relationship with Aetna. I think we have been working very well since we started this new administration. Everything has been working in a cohesive forward trajectory. From my perspective, everything that was a challenge, we have been working actively to resolve. So, in forward trajectories for both of us. So, that's it. And, oh, the drowning. We did have a person that, I don't know if you, well, Jeff did something on that. It was on the news, August 9th, is the date, I believe. A young man up at Century Hills was seen at the bottom of a pool, the citizen that was there found him, pulled this kid out, 15-year-old young man, pulled him out, started CPR, and got it was what we would call in our business a code save. We would like to honor him and do something for them. We are working on that currently, so we have to get that kind of cohesively planned and better done. But that is where CPR classes are absolutely top priority also, to make that available so that we can have that available for everybody. That should be something that is easily done and understood by almost everybody, what to do in those situations. And kudos to that gentleman, have the courage to do what he did. Not everybody would have. And he was the one that was the hero. None of us did it. We just showed up afterward. So, any questions?
Sure.
Yeah, I do have a question, thanks.
Sure.
So you mentioned refusals of service, and you expressed concern if that rate creeps up a bit. And that got me wondering, do you have specific, checklists of questions or other procedures based on the nature of the call that govern how you handle that situation when the person is expressing refusal for service, as to how hard you should push them to try to change their mind, how you handle that?
Yes. I'm not going to push you unless I feel it's in your best interest. My personal opinion is I am a medical provider, and my judgment actually matters. If I see, if some random person called 911 and said, Fran needs help, well, Fran is sitting next to me and he looks completely fine and he's not complaining about a dog-tooting thing. And he says, I'm fine, I don't need to go to the hospital. I'm going to tend to believe that Fran's okay. If I find Fran laying on the floor under the table and he says, I'm fine, I'm kind of not believing that. And I'm going to go based on what I see and what my medical judgment and my training and my years of experience is going to bring to the table. I have to go with what each situation is its own situation. A refusal does show up we had an alarm malfunction not that long ago at one of the houses in town, and it was going off all day long. And I was going there all day long, and it's fine, but I have to get a refusal all day long for every single time that alarm went off. And that's fine. That's not what I'm including in there. That's an alarm malfunction, and I would log it as such. If the person on the other side of that alarm does not look well, and I see something's wrong, and I still they said no and I'm leaving, then I'm not being a good care provider. And that's the difference with the distinction, and I'm going to push harder. I'm going to do an assessment of the situation and an assessment of the person if they'll permit me.
Okay. My question, though, was more specific than that,
Yeah.
because you talked in general terms about exercising your medical judgment on a case-by-case basis. But my question was, do you have specific protocols, lists of questions, or procedures? Because different people have different levels of training, experience, and the
Yeah.
like. So my question is there something systematic in place?
Absolutely.
You know, a specific protocol, specific questions they should ask when they run into a refusal situation? I didn't really hear it.
Absolutely.
I didn't
There really is.
I really didn't
And-
hear an answer to that question,
But there
though.
really is, though, too.
So can you
And
talk
it does
me through
go,
that?
it does go into that. It does go into my judgment, though. It does go into my judgment does come into play as to whether or not I put, what is the call about? What happened to get me there to begin with? That's kind of where it starts. Everything starts at something. What started me getting in the truck to go to where you are? Then, yes, I do have a refusal protocol, and I do have, did you fall and you need help getting back up, but you're otherwise fine? That is called a specific type of refusal, and that does have a set of guidelines and protocols that I do follow, yes.
There's something in writing? you
And
mean?
that's something in writing, yes,
Okay, that was my
absolutely.
Okay.
But that's a different type of refusal, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about refusals that just don't have anything with them. That's called a lift assist. That's an assistive, that's assisting the public assistance. That's something that is different. I'm talking about just something that we don't really have a good story with. And that's where, back to, how do you write your refusals? How do you write your paperwork? How do you go back to basics and start at the beginning? You have to start at the beginning. How did that call come in, and what was the story that got you there to begin with? It all starts at the beginning of the call. And what do you see when you get there? And I don't know if you're looking at me skeptically.
No, I'm just,
But
for you to finish.
it's, yeah,
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for, I see your recruitment drive, you're starting to get some new members.
Yes.
That's good to see.
Thank you.
Thanks, and
you're welcome.
hopefully you continue
Thank you.
along that line. And, I had another question, it slips my mind right now, but, your training. Training is very important, as you know, and
Yeah.
as you're emphasizing, and you're gonna get going on board, and the skills of writing a great report
Right,
is everything, that's your documentation, so.
right.
Glad you're starting with that and continuing on with all the various certifications. So,
Thank you.
thank you for doing that.
You're welcome.
So, Madam Mayor?
Thank you. You made a comment about CPR training for everyone. Are you talking sort of like a town-wide CPR training?
I think CPR training should be available to everyone.
Is that something that you're looking to start as sort of like a community project?
I certainly have no problem starting that as a community project. It's certainly a community thing that I want done as a long-term goal, yeah.
Is it something that a CERT team does? Because I know that there was talk, a while ago about CERT teams and things like that. I think we use Newington CERT team if there's, like when we did the vaccination clinics. So is that something that potentially a CERT team does? Could like Newington come and do that training?
CPR training is one of the default trainings of the CERT team, but I don't think they'll be out there instructing. You need an American Red Cross instructor, or there's one other organization that
Okay.
needs to certify the instructors.
We
Thank
use
you.
AHA. We use AHA.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, we have instructors right at the building that are, several of our members are already AHA instructors.
I'm just wondering, because I wonder if like a little training clinic, I don't know how long it takes, and I'm just spitballing here,
No,
right? So
go for it.
don't
I'm
hold me
okay
to
with
this. But I wonder if like this is a sustainable task force kind of thing, and if it's an action item and getting out into the community, and maybe that's just a way to help you achieve your goal. That's
It's
something to
that
think
I'm-
about.
I'm absolutely willing to have a conversation with you about.
Okay.
Absolutely. Love to.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, yeah.
I'd love to have
you don't
more
mind
than
putting
one
on-
conversation about it. I'd
Putting
love
on
to
some
do that.
type of training.
I think that
for
we
the
should be doing that all the
townspeople to
time.
learn.
We should be doing that all the time.
Yeah, because I think CCHD did it for Narcan training, right? Didn't that help? So maybe even they jump in and help support that.
Great. Thank you. Move on to the police department's report, please.
Oh, wait,
Whoop.
we didn't.
Oh, man.
That's it.
I usually keep track of dates.
I know.
Sorry.
What happened? I got out of his vision.
Wow, look at that.
Sorry about that.
It's okay, friend. It's okay.
See,
I
I'm always on
appreciate you.
ball.
I was like, wow, good.
No, no.
No, and honestly, like while we're on that topic of the CPR and the community, I think there's a lot of different factors that can play into it. And I think, Madam Mayor, if you're able to leverage some of the other available resources that you have, that's certainly part of a collaborative approach. Like one of the things we've talked about internally at Aetna is just getting out to some of just the smaller public events to just teach hands-on training. Like, you don't necessarily need to be certified in CPR to save a life. You just need to know how to identify when somebody's in trouble and when to act on it. And I think, between RHVA, the town, and Aetna, we can come up with, and even involving Rock Hill Fire Department and some of these things, we could
all of
certainly
us
do
needs to.
something. I roped you in and get the RHPD in there too. We'll do it all together.
Yeah.
But we could certainly rope something in to get that training out to folks.
Great idea.
Yeah, I'm just going to start doling out things over here.
Your hands are bigger. Do it.
But I'll go ahead and I'll get into my executive summary. I just thought that was a really important topic to talk about, especially in light of that recent the code say that we had with one of the bystanders. I mean, that's just phenomenal stuff. It takes a lot of courage to be able to do that, and I think recognizing that is really important. So for Aetna, in July, we had 270 responses with 186 transports. It brings us up to 1957 responses for the year and 1340 transports. On-time performance was 94% with an average response time of 6 minutes and 45 seconds. We did see 5 cardiac arrests over the course of July. We do have one pending, hopefully, knock on wood, cardiac arrest save. Year to date, we have 28 in town with 10 transports and 18 presumptions. Opiate-related encounters, let me go back to this in a second, but we did have 2. I did have more to present to you guys on opiates, so if I do not touch on it, which I think now I will because I brought it up to myself, make sure you ask me about it. Our top 5 EMS responses for 2024 are sick person, fall, difficulty breathing, chest pain, and unconscious. May look a little different than the RHVA report because I was kind of thinking about how they might differ a little bit. That could be based on the timing of the calls and also the types of calls, as our Medic 5 unit will also be responding with them, but they'll only be responding with them on the ALS type calls. So that's why we may be some more of the other call types that they're also responding to, but may not be all the calls that they're also responding to. So just something that kind of occurred to me. On the operations summary side of things, we just finished another hire class of 12 new team members, including one of the volunteers we actually hired on to work for us too. She's very excited. She actually has her first shift tonight. We have 3 new licensed paramedics that are beginning their precepting process, and we also welcomed 4 paramedics who passed their preceptor training and are now online to train our paramedics, so we're excited about that. We look forward to recognizing, in collaboration with our HVA, the Rock Hill Police Department, dispatchers as they play a crucial role in kind of this cardiac arrest save theme that we kind of have going, which is a great theme to have. And we also had some folks that were recognized by Hartford Hospital for some pretty exemplary work that they did on a cardiac arrest save, not in Rocky Hill, but in Hartford. But we just wanted to go and recognize Kevin Stock and Sean Testa, as they've been doing some really good work throughout there. So that's the operation summary, but I do want to touch on the opiates real quick. We did receive, and I believe I did forward it over to RHVA as well as the police department, from the high-intensity drug trafficking areas survey. So it's part of the overdose response strategy, or ORA. There have been carfentanil cases in Middlesex County that have resulted in some fatalities. We have not seen any yet in our service areas, including Rocky Hill, but it is something to be vigilant for. It is a really potent strain of an opiate. It's about 100 times more potent than fentanyl and 1,000 times more potent than morphine. So very, very small doses. Some pretty scary stuff. If you do encounter it, or you encounter somebody that is in that situation or has overdosed because of that, that first dose of Narcan may not be effective. the biggest thing that I can kind of advise people to do is to, support their airway and their breathing as best they can. That's really more for the RHVA and our responders to really support the breathing. I wouldn't expect that of a bystander. There have been some reported cases of just kind of some seizure-like activity of just touching the powder. So I would advise people to, if you do see the powder, don't touch it. I can't say for certain if the carfentanil is what caused that, or if there was some other thing that caused that too, but just something that we're watching and being vigilant for. It is not super prevalent in New York City, but that's where we're seeing it kind of leak into that kind of Connecticut metro area using the 84 corridor and coming up into 91. So that's why we Middlesex County has seen a little bit, and why we're at least watching that to see if we're seeing it. Again, have not seen it yet, but at least to give you guys awareness to, some unfortunate, not necessarily happy news, but we do want to make people aware of that. And with that, that is the end of my little presentation there, and I'll stand ready for questions.
No questions. Thank you, Dave.
Is this a new type of drug, or what is this one coming up with the opiates?
It's newer in the spectrum of things that we've seen, but it has been around. We've heard about it for about 10 years. We saw it in Connecticut about 3 years ago, very briefly, and then it kind of petered off. We were all thinking that it was going to be like, this big surge of it.
Yeah.
But it fortunately is not the predominant strain of fentanyl that people are using. But again, it is just because of the potency of it, we do want to, be aware of it. And for our folks, it's just changing the practice of saying, hey, that normal dose of Narcan that you give may not work, and you're going to have to really work at supporting their airway and their breathing, until, either we get enough Narcan in, or we get to the hospital where they have some other, things that they can do, higher doses and stuff like that.
So are you suggesting another dose of Narcan? Would you suggest that?
I probably can't suggest that in a general terms, but I would say that, we have seen, because I've seen people give like 5 doses of that high dose 4 milligram intranasal Narcan. So I don't want to just come out and publicly say, give that, because sometimes it takes a minute for the medication to work, particularly in the bystander concentration where it's intranasal. It's not going to be as fast as if we're giving an IV. So sometimes giving it a second to work and waiting for those bystanders to be there, but definitely letting any responder, whether it's police, RHVA, or us, know if you've administered Narcan. We want to know that so that we can kind of put that into our calculus of treatment too, so to help us understand what we're dealing with.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Madam Mayor? Just thanks, you guys working together well. Thank you so
That's
much.
been good. And I don't know if you said it, but we are going to change up the report to a singular report for months moving forward. So we're going to work on kind of collaborating with that and coming up with just a singular one page, so you guys get a kind of a big overview of what EMS are. And then obviously we have our own unique things that you can ask about and we'll present about, but at least that way it's just one general report instead of 2. So
Makes sense.
Let's see how the chairman takes that.
these are being done without
Okay.
him here, so we're going to move forward.
Sounds good. All right. Police Department now, please.
All right, for the month of July, we had 2,225 calls for service, 16 criminal arrests, 1 DUI arrest. As far as recruiting and hiring, I know the chief updated you last month that we had 2 applicants that received conditional offers. I'm happy to say they're way into the background process now. They're in the final 2 stages, so we're hoping to get them on board soon. Officer Brian Carroll, who started last month, or was getting on board last month, is with us now. He's currently in field training. And we have an application process that closes this Friday. And talking to Lieutenant Morgan, he says the list is very healthy, so we're looking forward to a lot of applicants. We had 6 cases that required digital redactions, copying, and cataloging for a total of 2.5 hours of redactions. As far as community engagement, Cops and Kids, it's a program we've been involved in for a while. Our SROs get involved, work with the kids. It's a summer program. We had our cadet meeting, monthly cadet meeting, and we also had an officer attend Camp Current's Law Enforcement Day. CALIA, I'm happy to say that the department for the 2nd time has received its CALIA accreditation. We're Officer Derry worked really hard at organizing a lot of that, and a lot of people at the PD working very hard. But we finally had our public hearing last month and received that accreditation. As far as the commercial burglaries, the smash and grabs, those are all assigned to the Detective Division, and they're working on it using their resources, especially through the Hartford Auto Theft Task Force. And like we discussed before, the connections they have through other law enforcement agencies to try to get some intel on that. For the Colby Road incident, arrest warrant was approved, and an arrest has been made in that case. That's all I got.
Very good. Counselor Sullivan.
Yes, just a question. So we had a bit of a spike last month in both larceny and motor vehicle theft. We had a 4-month kind of a lull on motor vehicle theft, 3 in the previous 4 months combined, and then we had 4 last month.
Yep.
And also bump up in larceny. So first of all, can you characterize the bump up in larceny? What type of larcenies those were, for the most part? From vehicles or other types?
Yeah, so those larcenies were mainly retail, so shoplifting. That's what we were dealing with for those. So that's, I mean, depending on, there's no real trend with that. When they're up, they're up. When they're down, they're down. We do, as far as those, some of those locations, and I can obviously get you those details if you want, but some of those, they get reported after the fact, and then we investigate it. So a lot of these, I'm looking at one address here, some of those come in after the fact, so we won't get them as they're happening. So the likeliness of catching them on the spot is not there, because they've been gone for half an hour or sometimes a day, depending on what loss prevention comes in and sees the footage. So
Okay. Yeah, I know you shouldn't overreact to 1 month's data, because there's going to be ups and downs, but.
yeah, definitely something we're keeping an eye on.
There was a bit of a bump on both those categories for that 1
Yep.
month, so I was wondering if anything.
Yeah,
jumps out.
nothing that sticks out to us as far as like irregular jumps. Definitely the stolen vehicles, we're seeing a little bit of a spike in that. And the most recent, we've kind of shifted from the brakes in the vehicles to now tires and wheels. We're seeing that.
Okay, thank you.
Congratulations on your CALIA.
Thank you.
It's a great accomplishment
Thank
for
you.
our town and for your police agency. That's awesome. Thank you. Like you said a little bit about the stolen car increase, is it a certain time of day, evenings, midnights, days that they're stealing these cars? Do you know?
Mainly overnight hours. late,
Okay.
After dark. So.
Good. Over the summer, how did you guys deploy your resource officers? Your school resource
School
officers?
resource
Where did
officers?
they
Yeah,
seem to
so
work?
we have, what we did was, especially with, the staffing that we have now, we were utilizing our SROs one at a time to help relieve some of the short staff on the shifts. So we would rotate in the SROs they'd work with the summer camps, and obviously events like Cops and Kids, they would be attending as well. So their hours kind of changed a bit, but we also know the focus was on patrol, so we utilized that and rotated one out to be assigned to the summer camps.
Okay, good. Just a general question. I've called the PD, and people I know have called as well, and they're concerned about this automated system that you guys have on your line. It seems like if somebody calls the police department, they want to talk to somebody.
Right.
They don't want to hear this, push this button for that. And I've been getting some complaints. One person in particular actually witnessed a crime, saw the perpetrators in a vehicle, started calling, didn't want to call 911, it was property crime, started calling the system, gets all this, they're following in their car, they got frustrated and hung up.
Right.
Is there a reason, or is there, could be considered to have your dispatch just answer those lines?
It's definitely something we can discuss. I know the intent behind that was to try to direct people in correct places for who they look, but I definitely understand your concern. If someone wants to call, they want a human to pick up. and-
Right, yeah, they're calling usually for some type
sure.
of major event in their life,
Yep.
usually,
Absolutely. We can discuss that and evaluate that.
if you would. What's the difference from a 911 line call? Are the same dispatchers answering that line?
Yes. Yeah, and depending on where they are, obviously, if they're within, it's based on towers and everything like that, so they're within our town, we will get that 911 call, and it's our dispatchers, same dispatchers that would pick up the routine line.
Okay, because in your automated system, it says if this is a emergency, to hang up and dial 911. I think it'd be much easier if a dispatcher was there, pick up the phone, is this emergency, and then they could direct it.
Yeah, I think with the way that, the amount of calls that we get, I think the intent by it, again, we can look into it a little bit more, but the intent for it was to filter out some of the calls that didn't need police services or fire services, and, maybe they wanted to call and just speak with the records department, and just kind of alleviate a little bit of the pressure off of the dispatchers.
Sure. If you could take a look at that, I
Sure.
appreciate it just for a safety aspect.
We'll look into it with the chief. And
Yes.
'cause I went through it the other day. It is a lengthy process, and you got to wait to find out
is.
which button to cut. Yeah, so
And I just think if somebody's calling the police department, they need a service immediately. There's a
Sure.
reason. Even if it's calling for records, your dispatcher could easily transfer them. It had been done in the past. I know probably COVID, everything changed a little bit, but
Yeah.
thank you guys for considering that.
Problem.
What was the charges for the Kobe Road incident?
Colby Road, I do not have those charges in front of me. I can get
Okay.
those for you, for sure.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'm just curious what you guys
Absolutely.
ended up doing with that. Thank you very much, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. So first off, congratulations on CLIA accreditation. I mean, that's a huge deal, and we're super blessed to have a police department that reaches that high-level gold standard of community policing, and I know that your department sought that on your own. You were not asked to do that, not required to do that, certainly by the state, and so thank you for doing that. We appreciate that. I just want to follow up on what Franny said. So, did you say someone was observing a crime?
Yes.
Okay. So, if someone is observing a crime, would you consider that a routine call, or is that a 911 call?
They definitely, we're not going to yell at them if they call 911 to get us out there, but I understand where, a lot of people will think, oh, this is not, a violent crime or something serious. I want to call the routine line and leave the 911 open. So I understand where they're coming from that, but yes, if they got a hold of us on 911 regarding that, we'll definitely get them the right services, so.
Okay. And then you said that the person was following the car that was.
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So, what is your recommendation there?
Well, we always recommend, if we get people calling that say they are following, well, we try to tell them not to follow because we know that depending on how they're driving, high rates of speed and everything like that, people try to still stay with it, and we want to make sure that they're being safe as well. And just give us the best description you can, and we'll deploy officers as soon as possible.
All right. So, your recommendation is they can call 911 if they observe a crime, no matter what kind of crime it is,
Right.
and then just get the information, hold it, not follow people. Yeah.
But I'll go back to that. If the person doesn't, so now they're going through this automated system and they got to hang up and then
No,
call
I agree. I'm not.
911.
I'm not to that point. It's just the other 2 points where it's
All right.
kind of scary to have people in the community following, someone that they've just witnessed commit a crime. I mean, you never know what
It
could
was a
happen.
property crime. It wasn't a violent crime. Right.
Okay.
Thank you. Any old business we have to go through, Town Manager?
I have none, no.
Okay. Any new business?
Health District.
Oh, geez, sorry about that. Yes, sir, we got Charlie Brown.
Yep.
Mr. Brown, sorry.
That's okay. We're used to going last. Old news is new news. We've actually seen a real steady rise in COVID cases since the end of April. And we're actually at a point now to where we're seeing the same levels that we've seen back in January and some of the highest levels we've seen in the last couple years through the Northeast. This is particular concern, and the reason why I bring it up is because we're coming back into the season where we're coming back to school and starting to see more people get a little closer together. So basic precautions, washing your hands, covering your cough, staying home if you're sick, are always appropriate things to do. We're starting to come into that respiratory virus season, and that's absolutely something that we need to pay attention to. In addition, We have also seen a rise this year in the number of cases in the state for pertussis, which is whooping cough. So we've actually seen, last year 14 cases. This year we've had over 100 cases, and we've had our first case here in our district here within the last couple days. So this is something very preventable, assuring that children and those that need to get the vaccine, the Tdap vaccine, that they get that appropriately. So we're going to be doing outreach to make sure that folks can do that appropriately as they go into school settings, and especially if they're around newborn infants, so that they're vaccinated and are not putting those folks at risk. With that, I stand ready to answer any questions.
No questions here. Thank you for the report, Charlie.
With the COVID cases, are they severe, or is it mild flu-like? How severe?
We're lucky right now because the cases that we're seeing are not tremendously severe. The problem that we run into is that we're seeing more cases in long-term care facilities. And, overall, we're still seeing close to like 50,000 deaths per year nationwide in COVID. So the long-term care facility cases really are concerning for us because those are the most vulnerable populations and the folks that we tend to lose.
Thank you. Madam Mayor? Thank you very much, and sorry I missed you there. Thanks.
No worries.
Okay. Okay, we had no old business. Any new business?
No, good.
Any other business? Anybody have?
Move to adjourn.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.